Hello, Oracles. We are on a little bit early tonight. Vinny's on here tonight. Very excited. Haven't had him on here in a little while. So welcome, Vin. What you been up to?
Been a while. Happy to be back. Been busy. A little buying the dippity dip that never stops dipping here. And I was just looking. It looks like SPY is at a double bottom. We're approaching. It looks like. But yeah, things have been pretty crazy. How about with you?
Yeah, same thing. Work is insane. And then I drew the winning lottery ticket yesterday and got Alexandra on the channel,
I
which was
saw.
absolutely
Yeah,
amazing. It's
I
funny.
gotta
I mean,
finish
and
watching
honestly,
it.
she's so great. I reached out to her and I was like, "Hey, Alexandra," I was like, I know you're probably super busy. Normally, it was Wednesdays and Sundays were her open days, and I'm like, "Hey, if you want to just pop on the channel really quick, just to so everybody can thank you." And she's like, "Sure, let's do it." And she was on for an hour. I'm like, "Bless her heart, she's awesome."
Yeah, she's great. The Tesla community, never stops impressing. Everyone's a lot of awesome people in it.
Oh, seriously, like some of the best people. And honestly, I mean, while there's obviously plenty of us out here doing the social media thing, it's really everyone else as well. You guys are the foundation of this, and that's the best part of it. But man, so much going on in the Tesla world at the moment. Oh man, where to even start? So we'll just start with the semi because that's the kind of the almost most recent news. So that coming out yesterday. What is your take on that?
What did they say? I didn't see the newest news with that.
So the production has started. Elon tweeted the production has started. Deliveries begin on December 1st to Pepsi Company, which we knew because Frito-Lay, Pepsi Company. So it's going to go to Pepsi coming out of the Frito-Lay facility.
Mhm.
And that's the first ones. It's going to have a 500-mile range and really fun to drive, according to Elon.
I think, yeah, that's really big, especially you factor in that 40K tax credit they could get with the new EV incentives. And who else has a Tesla or has a semi truck? Nobody. So while
Yep.
they weren't first to market with the pickup truck, they're going to be first to market, and they're the only one in the market. I mean, at least on a mass scale. I know there's a couple companies that have like one truck or a couple prototypes, but it seems like they're going to win that market share, and that is a huge market, and that's actually the market share that's responsible for the majority of the emissions in the world. Trucks more so than the cars, and you know, it's interesting to think about. This also kind of plays into. I know they just got upgraded. You and Alexandra did a
Oh
great
yeah.
job covering investment grade, and that was one of the sticking points was that Tesla didn't have enough products. Well, here's yet another product that they can show now, Tesla
Yeah.
Semi.
Oh yeah, and we're not going to talk about Nikola as a good company, but the fact that when he came out and he had said, that is the bread and butter where they're going to get the majority of their money was through semi trucks. I mean, Tesla is going to be getting into that market for real. Like they're obviously have a real product coming out, so there is a significant amount of money to be made there, and it's going to end up being very much like Hertz because Hertz coming out, they were the first ones to jump in there, and they're touting and showing how much money they are saving and how efficient they are with these vehicles. Same's going to hold true with the semi. As soon as Pepsi comes out, shows their financials and how much money they're saving in fuel costs, other companies are going to jump on board and orders are going to start lining up.
Yeah, no, that's big, and that's super true. You're going to be getting all these bulk orders all of a sudden, and again, that there's no one else doing it. So this is a market where they're going to have their picking. They can just as many as they can build, they're going to be able to sell.
Oh yeah, and I think wasn't it Lion Electric was doing one? I don't know where they are in this. I don't know how far along they are, but I knew that they were working on something.
Yeah, I know, and I think they were more so with they had some bus things going too.
Yeah.
But yeah, haven't heard much of anything about from anyone else as far as buses and semi trucks and alternative type of vehicles.
Oh yeah, and then plus if we're going to be getting into a worsening economy, these companies might not even exist in the next 2 years. So who knows what's going to happen then?
Yeah, and
Um,
the other companies like Pepsi will be looking to cut costs any way they can, so that kind of plays into their favor as well.
Yep, absolutely. And like you said, with a $40,000 tax credit, they're going to be jumping all over this.
Yeah, that's
All right.
huge.
Hello, everyone. How's it going? Hello, Karav. Hello, Charles. Yes, Tesla crashing means blue light flashing. Absolutely. Huge sales going on. Looking at the charts, and I know I apologize. I wanted to get into the charts with you guys yesterday, but if you got an opportunity to interview and talk to Alexandra about the credit rating upgrade, I'm going to take that opportunity. So I apologize, but totally worth it. But looking at the charts, so I will go over the charts with you guys probably early next week. We are now at an RSI of 27. And for you guys who have been following, that is the relative strength index. Anything under 30 usually means oversold. We are now in oversold. We have not actually had an RSI this low all year. even when we hit 620 as a bottom pre-split, we were not at a 27. We were, I think, around 30. So this is a very strong sign that there's going to be some buying coming in. And looking at some of the things that Gary Black was talking about and talking with Alexandra yesterday, seeing the S&P upgrading early, which is very strange, leads me to believe that they know something is going on and there may be a buyback. Cannot guarantee this, but just looking at the hints and the clues that we're getting, we might be getting a buyback announcement at Q3 earnings. That could be what skyrockets the stock again.
Yeah, and the fear and greed index is it's going to break soon. It's all the way to the left. That dial is like struggling to hang on, and this is where it's tough, and especially if you're not a seasoned investor, like when it's hardest to be buying, that's the time to do it. We got caught up in this mania. If you've been in it for the past couple of years, when in hindsight it's easy to say, but I guess the writing was kind of on the wall. Things ran a little far. They got a little overheated. But, nothing has changed. I mean, Tesla is in a stronger position now than they were a year ago. They're just getting better. And now it's that much cheaper. So if you loved it at, 300, you should love it at 220. So,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Let me see. Karav, yes, I did get your DM. I haven't had a chance to look at it. I just saw it pop in right before I hopped on here. So I will totally take a look at that later. He gave me all of his Q3 financials. So very excited to see that.
Yeah, that should be strong. I think definitely better than the last quarter, and that'll definitely help everything. We didn't really get to touch. We didn't talk AI Day at all. What'd you think of that?
Oh my God, yes. So AI Day. So and realistically, obviously taking a step back, super excited about what the potential of Optimus can be. Obviously being realistic, the Optimus as it is right now is nothing. It's not functional. Seeing Bumble C, which I thought was hilarious because they took just Transformer names. So Bumble C being functional, seeing what it can do tells me what the potential of Optimus is going to be, at least as far as helping around in the factories go. That is the big key for them initially. Yes, we can look down the road and, having somebody like a Rosie from the Jetsons in my house helping me clean up and stuff, that would be awesome. But that's so far out. And Elon says 3 to 5 years. I'll be happy with 10. So 3 to 5 years, I think, is aggressive. But if in 3 to 5 years, we can start seeing Optimus actually in the factories, helping them around there, that I think will be the big game changer for everybody.
Yeah. I think that's, you put it perfectly. It's all the potential right now. We have to recognize it for what it is. But at the same time, I think we're going to see that bot working in the Tesla factory, doing a lot of useful stuff next year already. And just seeing it already able to pick up boxes, carry stuff around, just doing simple stuff like that. Jobs are going to start getting replaced. Profit margins are going to increase even more when you thought that was not possible to, in a auto manufacturing company. And, I had posted a video with my reaction on it. And a lot of the people I'm getting a lot that are comparing it to Boston Dynamics. And, there's two things with this. Like Boston Dynamics, people are missing the bigger picture here of, okay, the Boston Dynamics robot, they've been at it 20 years. It can do all this stuff. It can do parkour and flips and whatnot. But it is also just running on like this pre-programmed track where like, that's it. It's not going to do anything useful. It runs for 10 minutes. It does a little demo and that's it. Where are they? Why haven't they been mass produced? And even more importantly, it's not, everyone's so focused on the physical of the robot when they should be focusing on the brain. Tesla is putting a brain in a robot. Like this is the revolutionary step. But and just as far as like the other comparisons, like again, this was just, I feel like the overarching bear argument was like, this is nothing special because it's nothing new. Boston Dynamics is so far ahead. Saying that the Tesla bot is nowhere near as advanced as Boston Dynamics is like saying Apple was nowhere near as advanced as Nokia. The iPhone, it only has 4 buttons. Nokia has 500. Like you're missing the bigger picture here,
Oh, yeah.
So I was very excited to see how far they were able to get in just 6 short months and where it's going to go from here.
Oh, yeah. And knowing that Boston Dynamics has the hardware, obviously their hardware right now, like you said, they've been at it for 20 years. Their hardware is significantly better than Tesla, but Tesla literally in 6 months whipped together a prototype, and that was really it. But when I compare the two, Boston Dynamics to me is like Cruise or Waymo. They are pre-programmed for a very specific area, and it cannot think for itself. That's the difference between the two. Whereas when we're going to be looking at Optimus is going to be able to think for itself and learn even further ahead to be able to progress itself even more. And it's like, when you're comparing a baby to Usain Bolt, like when Usain Bolt was a baby and you looked at it and you're like, Well, you would never have imagined that he was going to become the fastest human on the planet. That was never a thought. So we're at the same point right now where we're looking at Optimus right now saying, well, I can't picture him becoming the best robot on the planet and becoming this AI machine, but he could. We don't know.
Yeah.
Obviously, time will tell for sure, but this is the progress and this is where they're aiming to get him.
Yeah, and it's just another drop in the bucket of another potentially leapfrogging technology in a, somewhat related but completely new industry. We're on to the next frontier already, and it kind of just goes to show you where they are at. I mean, obviously everyone's saying we're going to get all these EV competitions, still waiting on that, but even if that's the case, they're starting to show, like, it's starting to come to fruition, that Tesla is much more than an auto company. Another thing that I'm excited to see this quarter, I have a feeling that the energy business we're going to start seeing significant progress there. And I'm expecting the revenue to make a nice jump. And, that's something that's kind of the growth has been lackluster the past few years. And again, I get it. It all comes down to, the supplies. It just wasn't there. They were prioritizing the cars, but I have a feeling that's to start taking off. And I think that's going to have a very positive effect in that people will start to see more of the full picture, at least. If they don't want to accept the bot, that's fine. But that Tesla is not just a car company. It is an energy company, and it is becoming more and more an AI and robotics company as well.
Oh, yeah. And looking at the AI, think about like when the internet came along, think about how fast that sped up technology and knowledge. Really, what it comes down to is how can we speed up the absorption of knowledge? And the internet really sped that up significantly. You don't have to go to a library to find a book and read a book. You can quickly search the internet and find what you're looking for quickly. Now, imagine a computer, an AI computer, being able to search the internet as well. A human can only do it so fast. A computer can do it so much faster. That is where AI is going to change the game going forward, is they're going to be able to produce knowledge and gain knowledge so much faster than humans can. And obviously, Elon wants to be careful with this and make sure it doesn't take over the world.
Yeah,
But
and that's the other thing that it definitely is reassuring that it was going to happen. It was just a matter of who's going to do it. It's not even if, it's just when. And
yeah.
knowing that that's their goal is to kind of be at the forefront of this, because who do you trust more, Tesla or Facebook, if they were going to get there first, or even Google? A lot of these other companies, I mean, Facebook's per example, just can't do anything right, and like just all kinds of issues. They're going to make Terminator, and we'll be done. But like, you want Tesla to be leading this industry, because there are a lot of ways it can go awry in making sure that the outcome is most positive, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, and even Elon himself is like, there should be regulations around this. We are making this. We want to be regulated. Please regulate this because it needs to be. It's very important to him that they have this. And that's huge. And then going back to the energy, I already have them. So they were at about $800 million in revenue for energy last quarter. Looking at the numbers, I think we might be hitting 1.5 billion. That is my goal for it. I'd like to see where it's at. Obviously, I'm not, hell bent on that number. If they miss it, I'm not too concerned, but I think we are going to see a massive progress in the energy number.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. Just think about, so not only now do they have an auto business that is growing 50% a year, but now they're going to have an energy business potentially growing even more than that, 100% a year, 50% a year, whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
Tremendous growth, and like a huge like untapped market there as well, of course.
Oh yeah. Let me see. Karav here. Yes. So Cybertruck gigapress arriving soon in Giga Texas. It has been shipped. Yep. Coming out of Italy. We saw that report today for you guys who have missed it. Looks like Idra has confirmed that the gigapress is done. They just now need to disassemble it, get it all packaged up and sent over to Texas. That'll probably take a few months. I believe it's like a 3-month. I think Rob Maurer was discussing it's about a 3-month process to make that happen. But that comes right in line with the time frame for production, because 3 months, they're going to get it there probably right at the end of this year, beginning of next year. They're going to start running all the things, testing all the Cybertruck stuff, and then we will probably see production start maybe in Q2 of next year. Because, Elon did say that the time frame was, what do you say, production, scale production? No, what did he say it was going to be?
Definitely,
I don't
production in 2023. I don't know about.
Yeah, he definitely said so. Summer of next year we'll be in full production. So that'll be huge. So timing wise, this is all working out perfectly. And everybody out there who's saying, like the Gordon Johnson videos we saw today, the semi truck is never coming. Guess what? It's here. The prototype for Optimus never coming. Guess what? It's here. Cybertruck is never coming. We got Idra, a company who doesn't even work for Tesla, confirming that the gigapress that is going to make it is done. Like, nobody spends that kind of money on a machine for something they're not going to make. So it's coming. Let's see here.
It's like all these market, doom and gloom predictors. You say it twice a year, eventually you'll be right. Or in Gordon Johnson's case, he can only be right for so long.
Oh, I know. Yes, absolutely, Mike. This is don't panic, buy Tesla. So I was actually thinking about it earlier today. The feeling in the market right now, especially with Biden coming out today saying we're the closest to nuclear holocaust than we've been in 60 years. It's like we couldn't be in more panic mode. Like this is how we were back when COVID was hitting. The world is coming to an end. COVID is hitting. Worldwide pandemic. This is the same feelings we were having back then when we had this massive crash. Obviously, things are different right now because we don't have the Fed who's about to make a U-turn, although they might, who knows with what's going on. But this is the exact same fear mode that we were in. And like you said, we are in extreme fear mode right now. Let's see, what else we got here? Who's on?
Definitely. And that's the thing too, is like, it's impossible to time the bottom, but if you're investing a decade out, this is the time where you can make the asymmetric investments that the upside is just incredible. If you're buying a great company over the next decade, like, it doesn't matter if you buy Tesla right here at 220, or if it does go down to 180, if they hit on, 20% of what we're hoping, it will pay way off, in the next 10 years.
Oh, yeah. Denise, here we go. Denise, one of my members. Thank you for being a member, Denise. If you guys want to be a member, you guys can sign up down below. Pretty cool perks in there. Denise, buying more shares on the dip, bought 15 more shares today at $228, but I'm still ready for a nice bounce. Yeah, I agree with you there. Feels like we've been red for weeks. I mean, just looking at the charts, we've literally just fallen off a cliff. So yes, I am 100% on board with needing a little bounce, and seeing as the RSI is down at 27, I think we are going to be getting one. And as a lot of people have mentioned, we keep getting, here we go. When there is good news for Tesla, nothing happens. When there's bad news, the stock tanks.
And sometimes when there's good news, the stock tanks anyway.
Yeah. And this is the part where I got to remind you guys, obviously I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but knowing where the company is headed, seeing the financials continuously growing on everything, we're in these points right now where sometimes there's nothing you can do. But when you look at the fundamentals and you put your emotions in where the fundamentals are versus where the stock price is, you realize that these discounts right now, and even if we do fall further, these are just awesome times to buy, which is why all year I've been saying, cash flow generation, because you don't know when we are going to get to the bottom. Nobody does. But if you have that cash flow generation, you continuously put money in. And people always call, you're catching a falling knife. Then I thought about it today and I'm like, well, if you've got a 401k, people are just having money taken out, putting into their 401k. Theoretically, they are all catching a falling knife when the market is coming down. Everybody through the 2008 and 2009 recession was catching a falling knife. And all those people who were catching that falling knife came out extremely wealthy on the other side. I'm okay with catching this falling knife.
Yeah, and that's if you have the money to do it, you cannot go wrong with dollar cost averaging in, whether it's weekly or monthly.
Yeah, but, seriously, whatever you can do, is going to do it. And obviously not financial advice. You guys got to do your own due diligence and research. But, for me this year, looking at how I started this channel last year, I mean, actually, I think it was last year exactly on this date, I posted my first big video that went viral for 40,000 views about a Tesla split and predicting that it was going to happen this year, actually happening at this time. So it was a little off on timing. But that took off and I had 3 shares. I now have, obviously with split adjusting, it was around 10 shares, but now I've got 38. And I also have 15 in my IRA, which I didn't have any in before. So, just the power of dollar cost averaging. And the thing is going to notice for you guys is when we do come out of this, all of those shares that you bought now, that's when it's going to show the difference. Obviously right now, it's not going to matter. You got to look at share quantity, not share price.
And it's like you said, going back to the fundamentals, Tesla 1 year ago today probably it's 50% lower now than it was a year ago. And the fundamentals are probably 50% better, if not more. Every metric is up. I mean, the free cash flow is going through the roof. They're healthy, the balance sheet, there's no debt. Everything is looking great. And they really just have to keep doing what they're doing. And now you're getting it on a huge discount if you loved it a year ago,
Right. Let me see here. Since the incentive of $40,000 starts in January, why would Frito-Lay get the delivery of the semis in December? My guess is they're getting them in December because I don't know if Tesla maybe gave them a deal ahead of time because they were the first ones to order. So
Yeah,
they
I think they
probably
pre-ordered
have,
10 or 20 or so.
yeah, so I have no doubt they have some sort of special deal going on. And just because they're starting to get deliveries in December doesn't mean they're getting all of them in December. So they may just be getting like 2 or 3 or whatever it is in December. We'll find out probably on that date. But I have no doubt whatever worked out for them financially was good enough for them to get it in December. Let me see. Karav, people say Tesla's PE is too high, while its PE is 84, less than Amazon's 104. Yeah, great point. And Tesla has significantly higher growth ahead of them than Amazon does. And with Q3 earnings coming up, based upon the numbers we are projecting right now, I've got them coming in with an EPS of $1.13. That's going to bring their PE down to like 55. Like that's I think when we hit the low of 620, that's about where we were at the lows in June, was around a 55 PE. So if this is the way we're going to swing until the market comes and we go 100 PE down to 55 and we just make these big up and hill runs up and down until the Fed decides to U-turn, I'm fine with that. At least it's predictable in some sort of manner. And I'd be totally okay with that.
That is pretty crazy to think about, though. And I saw this today. When Tesla has a cheaper valuation than Amazon, lower PE ratio, and Amazon is a company that over the past couple of years, they bought all these factories, these warehouses, and now they don't know what to do with them. They're closing them. They're trying to lease them out. Tesla, on the other hand, can't build the factories fast enough to meet the demand here. So, which one do you want to own at a PE of 84 for Tesla versus Amazon at 104? That is pretty wild.
Oh yeah, and my company that I work for, we supply Amazon and the warehouses that are building here in Connecticut, and they've built 4 in the last 2 years, and they're closing the doors on 2 of them and renting the other one out for office space. So sure, I have no doubt down the road they're going to use them for this, but still, Tesla, every factory they can build is going to be up and running, and I have no doubt we're going to be hearing about another factory soon as well. And as Mike is saying, just wait till the semi hits the bottom line. I don't even know what the profitability is going to be on them. I know the big question is it 2170s or 4680s, but either way, profit margin.
I think with that 40K incentive, it's going to be more profit than any vehicle that they've made.
Oh yeah, I mean seriously, because thinking about the 40K on that, the buffer they're going to have at the $40,000, the pricing power they're going to have along with that, even if they're only making, let's say, 25% margins on these things, for every like 5 or 6 Model Ys that they sell, that's the same profits they'll get from one semi. So it's mind-boggling. Denise, I started with 10 shares in December 2020. Now it's 165. There you go. Power of dollar cost averaging. And that 165 when we pull out of this, thinking about the fact that, Gary Black has a price target of still $550. We got Trip Chowdhury coming out with $760. Those are 12-month price targets. That is a 2, 3, almost a 4x over the next year. All of this money that you're putting in right now, and I made a little, analogy this morning. If you got a dollar worth of pennies and you put it into a jar, and I tell you that dollar worth of pennies is going to be worth $2 next year, but in the meantime, it's going to go down to 50 cents. But you could put another dollar in when it's 50 cents, and then maybe it goes down to 75 cents, but that'll become $4 in a year. Would you invest at that point? Yeah, because you're literally investing $2 that can become $4. That's really exactly what is happening right now. And that's what dollar cost averaging is. You just keep on putting a little bit of money in now, and the value of your dollar might go down, but in the long term, it's going to go back up. Let me see. Karav, new Gigafactory announcement during Q3 earnings would be nice. It's funny you say that because Elon in the past has said that earnings calls are not the place to announce those. So he doesn't like to announce new product. He doesn't like to announce new factories at earnings calls. So I don't think we'll hear about that, but we might hear about that buyback. We might hear about a buyback. The talks lately about the fact that, we've got S&P with the upgrade earlier than earnings, which was very odd. And the fact that we now have the semi-truck coming out, and S&P was saying the 2 things that they wanted to see, and they were pretty optimistic anyway, but they just wanted to see more consistent numbers, as they have been producing, as something new on the product line, which is what we got. And then in their statement, when they said that they upgraded, was, Tesla really committing to their financials kind of leads me to believe that they're doing this. And then as Gary Black had mentioned, when it comes to institutional investors that are now going to be investing because we are investment grade rating, the buyback could really incentivize them and give them the confidence that Tesla is going to do the right thing for their investors by doing buybacks. So this could really springboard us up now at this point, if that is what they choose to do. Yeah, the preliminary numbers. I have to check his video. I didn't see his video. Actually, I've got to get Karav on, or Farzad on here. I know Vinny was lucky enough to have Farzad on his channel. That was awesome.
Yeah,
you guys haven't
Farzad's
watched
awesome.
that. It's a while ago. It was before AI Day, but they discussed a lot of it. So that was a great conversation.
Definitely lots of still relevant stuff. I mean, he was just fascinating to talk to. Awesome guy with just so much insight into Tesla, obviously working there, and he's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Let me see. Abhishek, what's the next psychological support for Tesla? Well, psychological supports are usually at the round number. So 200 would be the psychological support. We're right now, 223 was the support that I had mentioned previously. So we're right at 223. The one below this, I believe, is 215. I haven't looked at the charts in a couple of days. I apologize. I've had a lot of other stuff going on, but I think 215 and then 207, because 207 was the previous bottom of the year. Those are the next two support levels we have below us. And then we would have the 200 for psychological support. I did look, and it was weird because I did not see it when I looked previously. There's actually a gap down to 187. So that 180 mark, 187 would be around that spot. So those are the levels below us. Above us, we do have the gap up to 265, and I have a feeling we're going to be hitting that. I think if we start moving up with all this information, we'll probably end up hitting that first. And hopefully just keep on going up from there, which would be nice.
Tim, what do you think about broad markets here? Are we close to a bottom or what?
Oh my God. So, I haven't even looked. So I know the Dow is under 30,000 again. S&P, a lot of people were talking about, I'm going to pop it up on my phone really quick. A lot of people were talking about the S&P dropping to 3,300, but like that to me sounds really low because we're at 3639. The last number I heard was 3580 was what we were looking to bounce off of. And we sort of did with the S&P, and then we pulled back down a little bit. And then NASDAQ, people were talking about 10,000, and we're at 10,600 right now. So one of the things I'm paying attention to in the charts is this a dead cat bounce that we're going to continue on? And, we've now hit the bottom. So when you guys look at the RSI, obviously, you can't just keep skyrocketing up. As soon as you hit like this point right now, we're going to rebound. And then the question is usually when you rebound, you've got to kind of settle yourself. And then when you settle yourself, you're like, all right, you usually, like we've seen it before with a lot of stocks and Tesla, you see a consolidation period where you kind of trade sideways for a little while in ranges. We talked about that all along the way in the beginning of the year. So you see these ranges that we trade in, and then from there, you're like, all right, where do we go from here? Do we break out and go up? Do we break down and come down? So, you'll settle around that 50 mark for the RSI and then kind of move one direction or the other. And then either you move up and find a higher range or you move down and find a lower range. And that's kind of where we're at right now. We're at that bottom. We're probably going to bounce up and then kind of settle ourselves to decide, are we going to find a new range, and are we going to go up from that range or down? And again, this is why, you can kind of look at it long term, but, just looking at the charts in general, that's why I go stage by stage. All right, this is the support we're at, which is the 223. Where do we move from here?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting just to think like these interest rates have already broken the market clearly. But it seems like everything else is pretty close to its breaking point too. I mean, I just got quoted for a home mortgage. The interest rates are like 8%. They're up to already. So people are not going to be buying houses. That's going to be the next thing to go. And it's just like people are not going to be doing anything. I mean, at the current pace, we're going to start seeing the layoffs and stuff. So I know historically, whenever inflation has been above 5%, they had to bring the rates at least to 5% or higher to break it really. But I don't know. It definitely, I think the next CPI report should be pretty telling. I would have to assume it starts to move down pretty significantly.
I would hope so. And we're getting that next week. I believe Thursday we get that. So, honestly, that's got to be it. I really want to see that 7 in front. If we don't see a 7 in front with CPI, I think we are going to be we're going to be falling hard. I think that's going to be a problem because, we already know that Jerome Powell is on board with, just cranking up interest rates as need be. But, looking at Cathie Wood and Elon talking about the fact that we're going to get to kind of natural deflationary pressures coming up in the next few months. So if we get to that point with interest rates being so high, Fed might have to crank a U-turn real hard. And if they don't do it fast, we could be in trouble. So lots of crazy stuff going on. But yeah, CPI next week is going to be very telling to determine what's going to be happening. Let me see here. This is actually a good question. People seem to think that Tesla is building the tractor trailers for this Tesla semis. Is that true? So knowing trucking itself, not every company has their own trailer. So there's some companies that even let's say a Pepsi, and I know they're not a good example, but a Pepsi may have the tractors for their company, but the trailers are all owned by a company that, maybe supplying the product itself. So these tractors will just drive up because there's a lot of independent contractors out there who they don't own their own trailers. They just own the truck and they'll hook up to whatever trailer is there and they'll go. So I don't know if Tesla is going to be making their own. They might be, but I have obviously they're making the cab. I don't know if they'd be making the trailers themselves as well, because a lot of times it's third parties for whoever the vendors are. Let's see. Moody's. Yeah. Moody's, I think, is going to be. So Alexandra's going to ask them if they could do their upgrade on my birthday on November 8th. So we'll see if they listen. But I think right now with S&P coming on so early, Moody's, it will definitely do it by January, by after Q4 earnings, without a question. Last year, they did it right before Q4 earnings. Once we get the delivery and production numbers, they did it. So I have no doubt we'll get it by then at the latest. But if Tesla ends up doing a buyback, I think we'll see it after Q3 earnings. Now, let's see. Bargains. Yes, bargains all around.
Alan Kane, I feel that with the, this is what happens if you're like me, like my portfolio is 80% Tesla. So yes, it's trying times, and I've kind of gotten used to it. You get numb to it, I think, as a Tesla investor, but it's tough. It's tough to watch. It's fun in the good times when it's going to the moon, but it has definitely not been a fun year in 2022 to watch that.
No, this is actually something, and I thank all of you guys so much, because we've kind of gone through this journey together of learning how to control our emotions in this, because I am a newer Tesla investor myself, and learning all of this and learning to be able to switch my emotions around and going from, the whole, being upset when the stock is down to being excited when the stock is down. And I had to learn how to prepare myself. Yeah, prepare myself for that. And that's where I came up with my whole, keep a minimum of 5% cash on hand, build it up to 10%, take the extra, put it into Tesla, dollar cost average daily. All of this has done wonders for my emotions to keep me. Now I'm excited when I see prices like this. Obviously, we don't want to see it fall forever, but my long-term conviction is strong enough. Let's see. Karav, yes. Yeah, so if you guys are on Twitter, I am very close to hitting 1,000 followers, which is pretty exciting over there. Let me see. Oh, we got some information. Oh, where did it go? So confirmation. Yeah, so just tractor units at this stage. That's what I figured. I didn't think Tesla was going to get into the trailer part of it. So yes, that makes a lot of sense. Logan, yes, got to leave emotions and feelings out of investing. You have to.
For sure. Yeah.
And I can't give financial advice, but I will give you this advice. Do not trade emotionally. Making emotional decisions with your money is a terrible idea. That's like going grocery shopping when you're hungry. Just don't do it. Let me see. Looking for a re-entry point, do you think before or after Q3 earnings? I will give you the same answer I give everyone else, and I usually answer with questions. The 3 questions I ask is, what is your long-term thesis on Tesla? How long do you plan on holding it for? What do you think the price will be at that point? And do you think the profits you will make in that time frame are worth it? 3 simple questions to always ask yourself. Because for me right now, my long-term thesis, I'm holding it for a minimum of 10 years. I think in 10 years, the stock will be worth, at least $3,500. So from this point right now, in 10 years, the return on my investment is worth buying at these prices. So that's how I do it. Very simple math. So anytime you guys are asking that question, just because I can't tell you, everybody has their own individual situations with finances. So you have to answer it yourself. But those are the questions to ask yourself to make that decision. Let me see. Yep. Lee from Tesla Economist, Tesla 3X, 2 years after 4680 full ramp. Yeah. And I agree with Lee. And actually, I got to meet Lee last week on my Tesla weekend. That was pretty awesome. I didn't realize he was going to be on there. So being able to chat with him was pretty cool. So that was great. I get to actually meet James Stevenson tomorrow too, which is great. Still not Farzad yet. I'm not Vinny's level.
Are you doing a video with him tomorrow?
Yeah, actually, Brian from my
Nice.
Tesla weekend invited me on, so it's going to be the 3 of us. So that'll be a good time.
Awesome.
So if you guys are free tomorrow morning, it'll be 11 o'clock Eastern time. The 3 of us will be having a chat. Denise, yes, $3,500 per share in 2032 is what my current price target is. But I will be updating all of my price targets after Q3 earnings. You guys as members, you're going to see all of these when I come out with them. I'm going to update them this weekend. Sorry I didn't get them last weekend. Just had Too much going on, and with the timing of production and deliveries, I didn't have enough time to update them all. But I'll get them out tomorrow. But the bigger updates are going to be coming after earnings because that's going to make a bigger difference. Let me see. So, let's talk about Twitter. So what's going on with Twitter here? So latest news we have, and I had gotten some information from Esoteric. Thank you for that, mentioning about Meet Kevin's video, but then Meet Kevin on Twitter today realized that, so the information that was given to us was the expiration date for the banks and the funding was on October 20th, which means that they could have said, hey, it expired, we can move on, banks back out of the deal, and then Elon can say, oh, banks backed out, I don't have financing, I can now pay $1 billion and break up this deal. However, what Meet Kevin found out today was the fact that he has extended that through April of 2023. So at this point right now, it looks like that is not going to be an option. My thought was he might have been using this because the Wall Street Journal had mentioned how he was looking to try and get a lower deal with them and maybe get a 30% discount. So he was going to be buying it for around $31 billion, which would have been significant. So it sounds like he was trying to work on that. I thought maybe he was going to try to work on that because it sounds like he definitely wants to buy Twitter still because he still wants to move in this direction. But, I don't know. Now it's October 28th. It's going to be after earnings versus before earnings. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, Vin?
All I know is I am excited. I hope it goes through for the long-term implications for Twitter. This man is going to make it into a super app. And this is something the US, I don't know why, for whatever reason, we've been so far behind on for so long. And I feel like we've got to get away from this model where, the competition now, Facebook with the Reels and TikTok is just this business model of just keeping people hooked on the platform as long as possible to get as much ad revenue. It's not sustainable for humankind. It's not good for society. And I just have hopes that he's going to make Twitter into like an actual useful app. And it makes me excited to be, on there and active on the platform. And I feel like it adds immense value just being in that ecosystem. But we'll have to see what happens with the trial. I'm sure that it's going to go through one way or another eventually.
Yeah, and I fully agree with you because a lot of people look at China and like China's so far behind us, and you got to remember they're not. You're just listening to whatever the media tells you. People who are actually over there realize China's not. I mean, think about some like the 3D billboards that they have over there. They have WeChat, they have this, and like Vin said, a lot of the stuff we have right now, the social media is really just a drug. That's what our social media is. It's not functional of any sort. WeChat is extremely functional over there.
Businesses run on there. Yeah, there's so much
and it
going
helps
on.
Everybody's lives become better. Think about how much has TikTok helped your life. Seriously. So, it's gotten you through emotional times. You're like, oh, I hate my droning life. So let me go on TikTok and just ignore life for a little while. That's not the way to do things. So I'm very
big
excited.
Hopes for that. And I feel like also it's just going to be huge because just now picture this. Ride hailing for Tesla through the Twitter app where you're going to hail your autonomous, Tesla taxi. I've really wondered about this too. I know they're going for the big picture, but at what point should Tesla just get into ride hailing even before they have autonomy? I mean, why not? And then you kind of pitch it to people as sustainable transport, and it could be pure profit to them and then share a cut with the Tesla owner.
Right. And I know that, we were talking about, Tesla's going to have their fleet and the whole fleet program and everything that's going on there. And one of my guys, Jerry, had asked me about, would Tesla get into something like that, renting out the cars themselves? Makes sense. But I don't know if they would want to take on that or if they would just do that with the fleets like a Hertz. Maybe they don't want to take on the responsibility of all the liability and stuff like that. If they do that through a third party and Tesla's like, well, we'll just give the cars to you guys take on the responsibilities of all the negative stuff. We'll just be the middleman and we'll just take some profits off at the top. This way, Tesla just literally doesn't have to do anything. It's almost like software. It's a very little work for them, but just profit coming in and it's pure profit. So they might end up going that route.
I was thinking more so like, people who own Teslas, if they wanted to make some extra cash on the side, basically do Uber, but their own version. And this could also help fight the FUD and, expose people if they want to, if they can check off a little thing, would you like FSD features in your ride or not, so that the public can actually start to see the truth and how great it is versus the nonsense that they're seeing on CNBS.
Oh yeah. That was actually something I thought about too when they were first talking about it was, I don't mind. I would own 10, 15, 20 Teslas, have them sitting in my parking lot or whatever, and just let them go out on their own. If they're self-driving, who cares? Somebody goes onto Twitter, they hail their taxi, my car goes out and goes to give them a ride somewhere. I literally do nothing. I just own the vehicle and I have to maintain the vehicle. They take care of it, and that's it. I mean, that to me was an ideal business model for myself. And I know there's some fleet owners out there who do that.
You know, it'd also be useful then when the car needs to recharge itself. It pulls up to the charging station. Another use case. There's Optimus. He plugs
Optimus,
the cars in, and
yep. Yep, I was thinking the exact same thing when
and
he
that's a
first
very
mentioned
easy.
Optimus.
That wouldn't be too hard to do. Yeah.
Nope, because Optimus is already going to be plugged in. Good. Hey, I'll plug myself in. You're here. I'll plug you in. I really, I mean, for a business owner, for me, this is something I do want to get into. If that's the route that I'm allowed to go, if Tesla allows stuff like that, I would love to get into something like that. You know, when I talk about grandiose pictures of having a castle, and honestly, that is what I would have. I would have a fleet of Teslas there with Optimus there, plugging them all in, taking care of it, and taking care of the guests. That is my ideal situation. Let's see. Do you think Elon will be selling a lot if the banks back out of the Twitter deal? That could be painful. So the banks are basically cemented in. Two things about the banks. One, they do not want to renege on this deal because if they do, that is going to look bad on them. And then other people will not want to do business with them because they have backed out of the deal. So they are most likely not going to back out. Stephen Mark Ryan was talking about there's really less than a 1% chance of that actually happening. There would have to be some sort of financial collapse that would cause these banks to be able to say, look, we physically don't have the money to be able to back this. We can't do it. That's the only situation that would happen. So as of right now, last I knew, Elon had to come up with about $5.4 billion extra based upon all the financing we currently know about. We know that Apollo and Sixt have backed out upon the agreements. They never even agreed to anything, so there was no committed funding there. So the money that they were thinking about funding is not going to be there. I don't know if there's any other backers that Elon's been in contact with to make this happen. So at this point, nobody really knows what's going on. Elon obviously cannot comment on any of it. But worst case scenario sounds like it'll be $5.4 billion that he's going to have to come up with. And honestly, and when you're looking at the grand scheme of things, $5.4 billion is like one of those days that Elon sold. That's it. It'll be one day and we're done.
He should have no trouble getting additional financing. I would have to assume too, though. I mean, everyone's going to want to be a part of this.
Yeah, and I don't know the business model or anything behind WeChat. If any of you guys know, please let me know. I have not had a chance to look into that. But if he's looking to turn this into a WeChat, and WeChat is massively profitable over in China, that could be enough incentive to get more financial backers behind him as well. Let me see. Mike, let me see. Will Cybertruck gigapress come to Texas before January 2023? Timing wise, it should be. We were talking about it earlier. Seems like timing wise, it should definitely get there before 2023. They're packaging it up right now, taking it apart, sending it over. Should take 3 months to come here. I have a feeling we will hear about it. I would say here, I'm going to call it right now on the video. We are going to hear on Q1 earning or the Q4 earnings call, the end of January. They're going to announce that the gigapress is up and running, and they will be having the first Cybertrucks coming out by March. That's my call. So it'll be 5.4 billion. I mean, it is a drop in the bucket. Obviously, the market's going to freak out. Oh, Elon's selling, whatever. Not like we haven't been through that before. Get over it. Seriously, that's, let me see. But here's what I noticed: for better or worse, when Tesla is going up, down, it goes down. When it starts going up and stays up, it goes up to the moon. Yeah. So that is what they've been on. So now, to be realistic, and I've got to be, unfortunately blunt here, the last 2 years, we were in a near 0% interest rate environment. So we had many 21-day runs where the stock just took way off. But looking at the fact that we did that, now we have rising interest rate environment. Getting those to happen again are going to be a lot more rare. However, on the flip side, when we do go back to the point where the Fed is starting to cut rates, we'll go back to those times again. So that's why I keep going back to these are the times you want to buy, because of the fact that we will eventually get to those runs and there will be FOMO like crazy. Think about all the people who were buying at higher prices. And to me, still, if you guys bought in, let's say $1,200 pre-split, I still think it's a good buy long-term personally. I think that's okay. But that buy happened because there was a lot of emotional buying and FOMO going on of, oh my God, we're going to the moon. We're never going to come back again. I remember vividly all the discussions we had about the fact that, oh my God, we're never coming under $1,000 again. That's impossible. There's no way we could come down. And now look at where we're at now. So these are just the reasons why I try to take my emotions out and try to look at things subjectively. And you've got to, you've got to do it. Look at it subjectively. I'm a huge fan. Obviously, Vin and I are both monster bulls when it comes to Tesla. He's 80% invested. I'm 70% invested in Tesla. But you got to look at it realistically. Sometimes the price is going to swing, and the realistic movement of the stock price may not reflect the fundamentals of the company in the moment.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, I know Alexandra touched on this, that I think with Tesla, there's been a lot of speculation. There's a lot of day trading. There's a lot of people going in and out, just trying to, make a quick buck. But now that they're getting the investment grade, you're going to have serious institutions now able to buy in. And I think it will start to stabilize. So hopefully we're kind of trending toward not having such great volatility in it. And obviously, as they put up the numbers to back the valuation, that should also help. But yeah, it's going to be an uphill battle for the time being, it seems. And I'm just trying to look out a few years, maybe 5, even 10, long term. I think it looks bright.
Oh yeah, and that's what you've got to look at, and yeah, exactly, Charles. People not buying now will FOMO in when it's back over 300. And this is the emotional buying. And again, if you're going long term, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. You want to buy when you can, but if you're buying when it's green, I've reversed my mentality. I buy daily because you never know what's going to happen. But when I'm adding extra, sorry if you guys heard that. But if you're buying extra, for me, if I'm buying extra, I buy on red. When it's green, I just enjoy the day. That's it. And I'm not one to sell, but I enjoy the day when it's green. I buy when it's red, because when I was doing it the other way around, when you buy on green days, that's when you end up holding the bag if you're an emotional trader. That's just how it works. Let me see. Denise, yeah. December, January, bought, shares pre-split 1050, and you're still holding, and you're now up to 165 and buying at that point. So now at the same point, buying all along the way brings that cost basis down significantly. My cost basis started at 280. I'm now at 265. So, just keep on bringing that down. Let me see. Will Q3 earnings be spun as a miss and send us lower, or were delivery numbers misleading and it'll be positive? My take on this is, as soon as those numbers came out, we obviously saw the stock tank. And my thoughts behind that were because it tanked because everybody immediately, this is how valuation models work. I have mine go in there. Here's my delivery number. I multiply the delivery number by the average selling price. That is in turn going to change everything. So I've got my margins in there at 30.2%. Every other number basically stays the same for you. It just, the delivery number is automatically going to drop your EPS, and that's going to drop your stock price. That's it. That's why the stock came down the way it did. But when the deliveries came down 5.5% under, but the stock fell 8.5%, I knew that was off by too much. So right now, the delivery number is already priced in. So if Tesla comes in with a number of margins that are higher than people expect because of a higher average selling price or whatever other reason, that to me is going to be a beat. Because I haven't checked yet. I don't know if you know, but I don't know what the EPS expectations are for earnings right now. Mine is $1.13. Last I knew, before we got delivery numbers, it was like $1.07. So right now we might be actually under $1 for expectations. So if we come in over $1, that's going to be a beat. And that I think will be a lot based upon margins and average selling price.
Yeah, I would definitely think that, we're seeing the margins improve, and that EPS, that's the big number, is trending up over time. So,
and then of course, if we get a buyback announcement, that all bets are off. Let's see, what else do we have for questions here? Anything else? What else is going on? So we've got, my goodness, Twitter, that's going on. So much stuff going on over the last couple of weeks. It's been absolutely insane. Oh, the China demand. Great. This is perfect timing. I forgot all about that. So do you think the China demand will be brought up at the Q3 earnings call? That's what the market wants to know. That's a great point. Somebody had brought it up the other day about the fact that everybody's talking about how it's Twitter that's making the market sell off. It's not, because Twitter is not a fundamental piece of what's going on with the company. The concerns about the demand in China are a fundamental piece that could be affecting the company if that in turn is true and is actually a problem. So what do you think about the demand over in China?
I don't think there's an issue. We know that they shipped more vehicles than usual, right? So I think it could fluctuate. There's going to be up quarters, there's going to be down quarters, but obviously we know even in the worst case of China, I mean, we've got like these untapped markets around the world. They can just ship the cars elsewhere. So it's not really a concern to me, but I don't think there's any demand issue in China.
Yeah, and thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Yes, hit that like button, hit that thumbs up. Lee over at Tesla Economist was talking about it as well and brought up a great point. And I was talking about it with Alexandra last night as well. When it comes to demand, myself, I'm pushing mine off my delivery off till next year because I want the $7,500 tax credit. And in China, we're hearing some numbers that are coming out as well about prices coming down potentially in the future. So same thing. And I mentioned this, months ago, Elon had said that when the prices come down, the demand is going to go up, which is true. But when they initially start coming down with the prices, people are going to be like, oh, they're going to put the brakes on because they're going to want to buy it at a lower price. So the initial reaction is going to be a drop in demand. However, it's not really a drop in demand. It's a delay of demand. So that's exactly what we're seeing right now. And it's what we will end up seeing as they do come down with prices is a drop in that, or just a delay in that demand. So right now, where we may see obviously a weaker delivery number for Q3, maybe that happens again in Q4. They can focus on a bunch of fleet deliveries because there's plenty of fleets out there that are looking for them. And I don't know for sure, and I meant to look into it, if fleets can qualify for any tax credit. Because if they can't, then obviously they would go to fleets. But if they can work out deals with these fleets and say, take them now, and we'll work out pricing with you guys so you don't have to worry about the tax credit, they'll do that. But that just means that if we do get a weaker than expected delivery number for Q4, then when we hit Q1 of next year, the numbers are going to be through the roof. And all the production that Tesla has been building up all along the way is now going to get caught back up. And we're going to go back to that point where we're seeing, 6-month lead times again. And we are still seeing that in some parts of the world. So we've got super long lead times in some areas. China just happens to be the outlier because they're the number one, and that's what people are focusing on.
Yeah, the global EV market share, as long as it stays in the single-digit percentage points, which it still is, I think it's around like 7-8% at a high end of global penetration. There's no demand issue. What I would think more about than China being an issue is if we do head into a global recession here and things do get really bad. But at the same time, if that happens, I think that a lot of the competitors are going to get it a lot worse than Tesla, who are in much worse shape, financials, fundamentally, just everything, not at mass scale yet. And also another thing that's interesting Tesla is going for them is that you look at a company like, a lot of people say Tesla is a premium luxury automaker, and that's it. Okay, fine. Let's go with that. Well, guess who did really well during the recession? Ferrari. They still sold every car they made because that market is a little insulated from, what the rest of us have to deal with. So Tesla could have that going for them. And the fact that I think that they do have a lever they can pull, obviously, hopefully inflation is on its way out. I mean, Elon's tweets had seemed to, concur with that in the last couple of months, just on the price of raw materials going down a lot. So I would have to think that, okay, if there really became a demand issue, Tesla could start shaving the prices down by $1,000. Okay, now we just opened up, another 1% of the market who can now afford it, or a few thousand, whatever they have to do. So that makes me feel better. Is that, okay, either way, if they're a luxury automaker, they do fine in the bad times. If they're not, they can reduce prices, hopefully.
Yeah. And, and something that I think about too is, Elon is actually on board with competition. He wants competition out there because the more people producing EVs, the faster we're going to be able to make this transition over to the renewable, sustainable energy future that we're looking for. So now something that Rob Maurer had mentioned, which is if Tesla does come down with their prices, then their competition is also going to have to come down with their prices. The problem with that is the competition isn't profitable already. So they're going to take an even bigger loss, which can then bury them. So if Elon actually wants competition to be there to be able to transition faster, does he want to drop prices, forcing competition to go bankrupt and go out of business? I don't know. And obviously with the speed that they're ramping up production, maybe at some point, Tesla can just be the only one that's out there. Who knows? That's obviously not Elon's plan, but, just some things that I was, running through my head about, he can literally bury competition. All he needs to do is say, like, we only want 15% margins right now. We're going to undercut all of our competition. Good luck, everyone, catching up. See you later.
Yeah, I mean, it just blows my mind. Their automotive gross margins at 30%. You look at Ford, GM, if they're even positive, it's low single digits. Yeah, they could wreak some havoc if they wanted to, but that's obviously not the goal for them.
Oh yeah, and it sounds like ICE companies are going through bad times. Ford is raising price on Lightning quite a bit, 11%. Yep, they just jacked it up 11% next year. It doesn't sound like they'll be able to export to China. So that's another thing too. Is Legacy Auto? GM has their like subsidiaries over in China, but that's it. And even then, it's not anything great. But going up 11%, and don't forget, Ford had to go up on their prices 11% just because the cost of their supplies went up. Tesla went up on the price of their vehicles because demand was so high. Yes, supply costs were going up, and Elon did admit that they went up because the costs went up as well. But it's also because demand is so high. So they're trying to squash demand. And don't forget, right now, based on Troy's numbers, they're looking at 78 days of inventory right now. They want or lead time. They want to get themselves down to 42 days. So they're still way higher than they want to be anyway. It's a very difficult number to manage when you're trying to be like, all right, well, we have these orders sitting out here for this long. How do we coordinate all of that? It's easier to do in a 6-week period. Let's see. How long do you think the share will continue to drop? I felt that if it continued to drop till the end of October, rise in November, what do you think? I mean, looking at the pricing right now where we're at the RSI of 27, and again, we don't have to bounce at this point, but timing wise, I think it could be good. I think we could be getting some nice catalysts. Obviously, the Twitter deal issue getting resolved is going to be an overhang that I think is good. Getting the answers truly about the demand over in China going on, I think is going to be a good answer. So I think that timing wise, it should be good. And we are in a midterm election year. We haven't even talked about it. Like there hasn't even been news about midterm elections anywhere out there. It's been crazy because there's so much stuff going on with interest rates and the Fed. But yeah, historically, once you get past election day, the things start to skyrocket. So yes, after my birthday, that'll be the present to me. The market will go to the moon. Let's see.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot hanging over Tesla stock specifically, and just how much of it is just tied with the broad macro. As long as we have these issues with inflation, Ukraine, I see comments, Ukraine-Russia war.
Yeah,
we're not going to the moon until we resolve these things.
Oh, I know. JL answer quickly just because I know you hopped on late. We got below 240. We hit right at the support I was telling you guys about, 223 right now. Below this is 215 and then 207, which is the bottom of the year. So seeing the RSI where we're at right now, I don't know if we'll pull down further. It is a weekend. Who knows what's going to happen Monday if we get a nice bounce on Monday. But those are the levels I'm looking at below us are 215 and 207. Yeah, in the short term, downward pressure with Elon selling more Tesla shares if he ends up having to do it. Ukraine-Russia war, and obviously Biden coming out today talking about the nuclear holocaust stuff. Like, talk about, hey, how much more can we tank the market? Let's talk about nuclear holocaust. Like, come on, dude. Like something that's like, is it intentional? Are they intentionally just completely bombing the market? It makes you wonder.
I know someone had brought up earlier on the chat that on the All In Pod, Chamath mentioned this, that you've got all these boomers basically who saved up all this money. And so the Fed's trying to break them, but also like they've kind of enabled their kids. That's why no one's going back to the workforce. So yeah, it could be a, purposeful thing to just break people back into the 9 to 5, basically everyone who's left it,
Yeah, I mean, but you think about it, they set it up. I mean, think about, the whole social media. Yeah. How much money can people make on social media? Why would you want to go work? Especially when you've had 2 years of COVID with nothing to do. People weren't making money.
When you physically were not allowed to leave, what did they think was going to happen?
Yeah. I mean, it almost forced it to go on. So, they made their own bed. So we'll see what happens. Team Scorpio, yes. Let's see. Not to rip on Ford whatsoever, but my friend bought their electric Mustang and the battery crapped out after a couple of months. Ford gave him a rental, but it took a month to get it fixed. Yeah, that's tough. And, obviously Tesla's not perfect either. We know there's a lot of issues with the service, and we've heard a lot about that. But that's the thing that a lot of people are underestimating about Tesla is the technology. Tesla's gone through all the learning curves. They've gone through all these things that are challenges. Just when it comes to FSD, they've already learned doing it with radar and LiDAR is not the way to go. And the other manufacturers have not figured that out yet. So, Tesla still has to prove it. They're making massive progress on all of this. But it's like they've gone through the learning curves. Tesla's done it. The other companies have not. So they either have to believe Tesla and say, Tesla's done it, let's believe them and go through it, or they're not going to listen and they're going to have to suffer and go through it themselves. And it seems like that's what Ford is going through right now. Let me see. So average new car price in 2022 is now $50,000. An entry-level Model 3 will be around $39,000 with a rebate next year. Demand will be huge, and even the price can drop even more. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And And of course, you're looking at the average selling price, which is around 50,000. So Tesla's right in the ballpark there. Obviously, ICE vehicles individually, there's a significantly lower amount of them, lower dollar amounts. You can go out, buy a used one. Heck, if anybody wants to buy my car, I'll sell it to you for 7,000. But you've got that realistic out there, the ICE vehicles. For somebody who's just looking for a beater car, you can't do that with an EV right now. Eventually you will. And that's where the demand for China is going to come in. Because right now, looking at the fact that knowing that they're dropping the prices a little bit and it's pushed off demand significantly in China, when they do release this compact car that's going to be $30,000, $35,000, that is going to completely destroy demand for the Model 3 and the Model Y over in China. That is why Tesla has to be extremely careful about when they release this. Because if they announced it right now and said, hey, in 2024, we're going to release this, demand in China would shut down and nobody would buy any. And because they would be waiting for that time. The only people who would buy it were people who really want it or people who need a car right now. That's it. So when Tesla, I have a feeling when Tesla does release and announce the compact car, they're gonna be like, we now have the compact car ready for order next week. Done. So this way, they're already ready in production to be able to run full ramp, switching over from Model Y and Model 3 because demand on those are going to drop significantly. And seeing as Tesla and Elon want to have the Model 3 be or Model Y be the best selling car in the world in 2023, probably won't hear about the compact car until the end of 2023.
Yeah, there's no reason for them to do it, and as long as there's demand for the current car, especially at the level of demand that they're facing. Yeah.
Jay, such a difference between October Scorpios and November Scorpios. You're not wrong. Definitely not wrong. Let me see. Going to 200. Yeah. Yeah, this is it. Going to 200 and below is now a reality. I never believed it would go to below 250. And again, when we were hitting that 313 level, again, I'm just looking at the charts, letting you guys know what I saw as numbers and potential possibilities and what could happen. Not spreading FUD, just putting it out there for you guys. It was a possibility. And sure enough, now here we are. And we're way lower than I even thought we would be. And I had to regather myself and say, well, what are our new levels?
Yeah, it's nothing is off the table, it would seem at this point. That's why, you got to just invest only that money you are comfortable not having, or for however long it takes for this thing to rebound here.
Yep. And again, when you guys do get to that emotional point, I'm guilty of it too. When you get there, wondering how low we're going to go, are we going to come out? You got to remind yourself, we will. We always have. Even through the Great Depression, we still came out of it. So, Tesla fundamentally has set themselves up to be the most successful coming out. Simple as that. So you just gotta have that conviction that they're going to do it.
If Putin's watching this, he's like, hold my beer.
Yeah, no kidding. And seriously, like, if we are getting to the point of that nuclear holocaust thing, the market's not going to matter. There's going to be so many other things out there.
It's our last problem.
Like, we're going to be we're going to be selling things for bottle caps. Let me see. Has anyone been on the radar lately? I haven't heard anything from him recently. Last I heard was the teardown of the 4680s. After that, I haven't heard anything. Oh, look at this, Micah. Oh my God, that's a great number. Actually, that is a realistic number.
That is realistic. Yeah.
I'm totally on board with that number. Let me see. I don't think Elon will continue to sell his shares. The way of how Elon's team reacts is they're not interested to buy Twitter. Delaying tactics, it could be. Elon plays 4D chess. Elon does things that many of us don't know about. And also remember, Elon usually thinks out 10 to 20 years ahead of everyone. So Elon's thoughts now of getting to this WeChat point and X.com, he's so far beyond thinking that we're at right now. He's got something in the works and he's going to make it happen. That's just what the guy does. So that's why people, don't bet against Elon. I got to say I will. And I know Rob Maurer now has some fund, I think, that he is setting up that is going to be basically betting in Elon's companies. So if you guys want to check that out, go check out Rob Maurer over at Tesla Daily. Q3 earnings looking right now. I mean, I've got them at, we obviously saw the 243,000 deliveries. I've got them an average selling price of 57,000, which is about the same as it was for Q2. So that might actually be higher now. And then I've got EPS at $1.13. I've got energy coming in at 1.5 billion. That's where I'm at right now. I don't know if you do any valuations on it, Vin, but
I leave that to all you guys. Do a great job with the projections. And then,
That's something that, Alexandra had brought that up too, is, I do my own valuation because for me, it's important because it helps me run my numbers and do my own, my model. But, you know, like looking at what Troy Teslak does for deliveries, like, why am I going to go track deliveries? I've got Troy Teslak, we've got Tesla Karav on the channel. If you guys don't follow him over on Twitter, he is in school at the moment, so he's doing what he can, but he just shared his financials with me. Definitely follow him on Twitter, Tesla Karav, Kairav. But follow him over there. But like, these guys do such a great job of it. Why am I going to spend my time doing it? You know, and then like James Stevenson tomorrow, he does an amazing job with charts. Why am I going to do my own charts when he does that? So, you know, I can just utilize their information and kind of balance it off of mine to make sure I'm not totally out of whack.
Agreed.
Tesla should advertise this car costs $45,000 minus the price of gas. You know, seriously. And that's another thing too about him buying Twitter is, think about the advertising Tesla gets over on Twitter as it is right now. You know, it's basically all of us talking about it. And then, you know, anything about just keeping Tesla in the news is advertising as it is, keeping the name relevant. And so by doing all of that, by switching it over to Twitter and him buying it, that's just going to expand the platform and their advertising platform as it is to be even more widespread than it is. Let me see. When do we hold an Oracle event? I don't know. We should definitely have one soon. I will check with you guys to see where you're at. I mean, Vin and I are close, so we could actually kind of like create one in the Northeast region.
Let us know. Let us know in the comments if you're in the Northeast, so we could definitely set something up.
I am 100% on board with that. We can hit a brewery. We can go out anywhere. Whatever you guys want to do, we will hit up something for an event in the Northeast. And heck, if you guys are anywhere else in the world and you want to join us, come on along. We'll figure it out for sure. I am 100% on board with that. That'd be awesome.
We could record it.
We'll do. Forward to is meeting so many of you guys.
We could have like our own little all-in summit.
Yes. And I know there is a Tesla Northeast on Facebook. So maybe I could work out with them and we could all get together. Let me see what else we got. We won't hang on for too much longer. It's been over an hour.
Gaurav had a good question about, I think he's talking about Chicken Genius Singapore. Do you think he will be right with his price target of $140? I got to say, Chicken Genius, he's been getting a lot of slack and hate lately, but the guy's an OG. He's been doing this for years, and I've got to say, I don't know how he does it, but what I will say is he has been right on a lot of things in the past as far as certain prices, certain things that were going to happen, and everyone ridiculed him and was like, that's ridiculous, that's not going to happen, and then, you know, here we are. And I will say, I got to give him credit because way back when Tesla was deep in the trenches of FUD, I'm talking like 2018, 2019, even 2020, he was a guy whose videos I was watching, and I was like, you know, he was reassuring me of like, okay, yes, I'm right on this. Like, you know, when I was like getting the temptations of like, oh God, like this doesn't sound good. And so I got to give him a lot of credit. I'm a fan of his. And as far as his price target, nothing is off the table at this point. I mean, I would be curious to hear how he got to that. I know Dave Lee was asking him on Twitter, but I will say he's been right on a fair amount of stuff in the past.
Yeah, and for me, you know, again, I always tell you guys, I prepare for the worst and hope for the best. I cannot predict the future. I don't know where we're going. You know, I just follow the day-to-day charts and movements, but I look long-term. So for me, whatever happens in the meantime, I'm okay with it. So when I look at him, it's like he's an emotional, I won't say emotional, but he's a timing the market kind of guy. So he looks to time the market. I am a time in the market kind of guy. That's why I do what I do, because I don't know where we're going to go. I don't want us to go down to 140, but you know, anything is possible. Like we were just talking about it. You know, we hit 313, didn't think that we were ever going to come down to fill the gap at 247. And now here we are at 223. So it's just one of those things that I had to teach myself emotionally, because it's very difficult. And I know we discuss it all the time on here, is you've got to, you know, take your emotions out, because, you know, if you're thinking we're never going to go down to that level and you set yourself on that and then you freak out when we drop, that's bad for your emotions. And you just got to, you know, pay attention to that. That's really all it is. So whether we go down to that level, I don't know. But, you know, having him switch from going so bullish to bearish is like, I don't know, man. I was like, we'll see what happens. Let me see here. Anything else relevant? Denise, California. We're in California. I was out in San Diego, and I know there was another guy who was on here. Oh, gosh, Big Will. Big Will was over in San Diego. He and I almost had a chance to meet up, but he was working at the time. So, yeah, where in California are you? Because I go to San Diego to visit my family regularly. Let's see what else we got. Here we go. Meet and greet in Newport, Rhode Island After, yes. Yeah, if anybody else wants to pay, Newport is not a cheap place to be for sure up here. Oh, 289 for gas. So yeah, let me know what the gas prices in your guys' area, because mine right now, I know I talked to Abhishek up in Canada. He said their prices have been going up. Ours here have been steady at $3.29 in my area for about the last month. We haven't moved much, but I'm hearing about, and I don't know if you guys heard, OPEC is going to be cutting 2 million barrels per day of production come November. So that could significantly jack up gas prices. And of course, with their greedy nature is, well, we're doing that because, we want to make sure we have the profits coming in. Like, all right, jerks. Let me see. Anything else going on? Lancaster. Denise, how far is that? I don't know where Lancaster is. Where is that compared to San Diego? Sky, are there gaps below 200? Yes, there are. There's a gap at 187, which I did not notice, so I apologize. I did not mention that earlier, but there's a gap at 187 and a gap down at 137. So those are the gaps below 200. So they're on my radar, but again, with the RSI where it's at, I'm not going to look at them until I'm confident that we may fall to those levels. But again, I'm not going to talk about it because I want to think about positive things. Gas prices are 689. Yikes.
Just more marketing, free marketing for Tesla.
Seriously. I mean, gas prices going up. I mean, think about what happened when the gas prices were going up all year long. The demand for EVs went up sky high. So if we're now talking about demand issues going, over for, China and all these other places, when gas prices start going back up, guess what? We are going to be seeing, everything EVs going for demand again as well. 2 hours from San Diego. Awesome. Denise, when I'm out there next, I will hit you up and we will hang out for sure. That's really all we got. So been an hour. So we are going to be jumping off here. Oh, wait, let me see. What will the stock be? Okay, we'll talk about this one. This will be our last question for the day. Where will the stock be at the end of the year? I don't know. Right now, my price target is it's like 453, but I have not significantly updated it, and I'm waiting for Q3 earnings. So it may change. And again, with the macro the way it is, that's really what's going to change it the most. So I'm currently at 453. We'll see what happens when we get Q3 earnings, and I will update it and let you guys know for sure there. So that'd be a 2x to the end of the year, which I think is kind of insane at the moment, but still that would be pretty awesome, and I would totally take it. All right, that's all we got for you guys. Thank you all so much for being on. I appreciate you being here. If you guys are not subscribed to Vinny, check him out over at Investment Club. Check him out over there. Definitely look at his Farzad video as well, because that was great, insightful stuff there. Otherwise, we will see you guys all later.